President Trump isn't backing down from his attacks on House Oversight Committee Chairman Elijah Cummings and the city of Baltimore. In his latest tweets, the president said, quote, if the Democrats are going to defend the radical left squad and King Elijah's Baltimore fail, it will be a long road to 2020. Over the weekend, the president also called Cummings racist and said Baltimore was, quote, rat infested. Congressman Cummings has been one of President Trump's strongest critics, particularly when it comes to policies at the border. Cummings also authorized subpoenas into the president's daughter Ivanka and son-in-law Jared Kushner for allegedly using private email accounts. The president's attacks come as more House Democrats call for impeachment. CBS News counts 105 Democrats who want to open an inquiry after another 5 joined over the weekend. That's nearly halfway to the 218 votes needed to begin impeachment proceedings. Let's bring in Bob Cusack in Washington. He's editor-in-chief of The Hill. Welcome, Bob. Thanks for being with us. So why is the president going after Congressman Cummings in this way?
Well, part of the reason certainly is that Cummings is a powerful lawmaker. He's the Oversight Committee chairman. As you mentioned, he's gone after the Trump family. And when that happens, the president fires back. So it's also, I think, part of a strategy to try to define the Democratic Party with more liberal members. And he's certainly going after, whether it's the squad or Cummings. He's also had, he's gone after various cities, whether it's San Francisco, Baltimore, Atlanta, which for the most part are run and have been run by Democratic mayors. And certainly the president's critics, though, are saying these were racially charged tweets and just continue what he was doing with the squad.
Yeah, I mean, he seems to be treading in dangerous waters. Our Margaret Brennan asked the president's acting chief of staff, Mick Mulvaney, if he understands why the president's comments are offensive to the people who live in Baltimore. Let's listen to that exchange.
I understand that everything that Donald Trump says is offensive to some people. Keep in mind, about 2 weeks ago, the president said things that were critical of AOC and her squad and was immediately accused of being a racist. A couple days later, Nancy Pelosi said some things critical of that same group of people, and she was defended by the media and by folks on the left for not being racist. When Donald Trump...
No human being would want to live there.
When Donald Trump attacks people...
This is being perceived as racist. Do you understand why?
I understand why, but that doesn't mean that it's racist. The president is pushing back against what he sees as wrong. It's how he's done in the past, and he'll continue to do it in the future.
So, Bob, is the president's team at all worried that using race in this way in the campaign may mobilize voters of color to vote against him?
Certainly, and this is certainly going to harm his outreach to minorities. And, you know, one of the stats when you look at is that Trump did better than Romney among minorities, generally speaking. But overall, this puts Republicans in a very difficult spot. The House is in recess, but the Senate is in. The senators are going to be asked all this week about the president's tweets. Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell has said repeatedly he is not a fan of the president's tweets. Now, Trump supporters say this fires up their base. But the issue here is that base supporters, I think, they're going to support this president. They've supported him in 2016. They like what they see. They just can't vote twice. So this could hurt him with independents, certainly with women in suburbs. And remember, a lot of those House and Senate races are going to be decided by those swing voters. Even though there aren't many swing voters left, there are some.
Right. Well, that's what I wonder. I wonder about the strategy because, like you said, the base is solid. But it's beyond that. If the president wants to move beyond that at all, it's questionable why he continues this line of attack. So Chairman Cummings has opened a number of probes into the Trump administration, which would explain why the president is sort of going after him. Does the White House believe that these attacks will undermine those investigations that Cummings is pushing?
Tanya, I think it's part of a narrative coming from the president in the White House that the investigations never end. They're just going after me. And if you want to see these endless investigations of me, whether it's on Mueller or whether it's on private emails, well, then the Democrats are going to have to be voted out. We're going to have to win back the House, keep the Senate, and certainly keep the White House. And certainly that does mobilize the base. I do think Democrats have to be careful with the Mueller investigation in the wake of Robert Mueller's testimony. testimony that, if you look at the polls, the polls say that most people are not in favor of impeachment, but more and more House Democrats are coming out in favor of impeachment.
Right. I was going to say, these tweets come as 5 more House Democrats say they support an impeachment inquiry. And just yesterday, the Senate's 3rd highest ranking Democrat, Washington's Patty Murray, says she wants the House to begin impeachment proceedings. Still, though, I'm wondering if the pro-impeachment Democratic crowd was hoping that Mueller's testimony would have compelled even more Democrats to come forward.
Politically, it was a disappointment, Robert Mueller's testimony. We didn't get a lot of new news. We got a lot of what was in the report. Robert Mueller's testimony was halted, and it wasn't as Adam Schiff said, the Intelligence Committee, there wasn't much of a narrative coming from Robert Mueller. So even though these more Democrats are getting on board, we're still a long way from 218 votes in the House.
Right. And, of course, one person who is not supporting impeachment just yet is House Speaker Nancy Pelosi. And your colleague Scott Wong wrote a piece this morning saying Pelosi's backers feel vindicated after a stretch that saw that spat with Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, the bipartisan budget deal, and the Mueller hearings. So if there are enough Democrats behind her, are we nearing the cap then on the number of Democrats who will support impeachment?
I think we're approaching it, certainly, unless there's some new information or Nancy Pelosi reverses fields. I don't think she's going to do that. And at some point, Democrats, and I think it's going to have to be in 2019, because Nancy Pelosi wants to talk about an agenda, what they've passed, what Mitch McConnell is not passing in the Senate, that they have sent over to the upper chamber. So I think at some point in 2019, Nancy Pelosi is going to have to take this off the table. We talked to some members, and they're saying probably by Thanksgiving. I just think they can't have this distraction going into an election year.
Right. All right. Well, Bob Cusack, we thank you once again for your insight. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.